welcome. This is Monty once again from DPL Surveillance Equipment. Wishing everyone a happy and a joyful Merry Christmas. Today is the Christmas Eve, and what is it? No, the day before Christmas Eve. I think I keep losing track of time, but the day before Christmas Eve, I think. And anyway, it looks like a number of people are going to be disappointed when they think about what Donald Trump is delivering to us for Christmas. According to what I've seen on Wall Street, today alone, approximately almost 600 points, I think, have been erased from the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And if I remember correctly, it was mentioned numerous times throughout the day that all 30 components of the Dow were indeed in the red today. So that's not really a good sign. When you have market corrections of this proportion taking place, that's really not a good thing. It looks like the conversations that are taking place around the dinner table this Christmas, they won't focus so much on Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. More than likely, the conversations are going to focus on how the 401ks are not looking like they are performing very well at all. I think the overall Dow is looking at 22,000, down from approximately 28,000. I don't know how many trillions of dollars that's erased from the overall equity markets, but that is a very, very big deal. And unfortunately, if it doesn't turn around very quickly by significant amounts, there's going to be a whole group of people, particularly baby boomers and those of you who are retiring or are thinking about retiring on the very short term, and you need that money that you put into the equity markets. So my heart goes out to you, particularly you pro-Trump supporters out there who are betting everything on a turnaround inspired by Donald Trump. I'm just going to point out a few things that you guys got to be aware of. You probably know as well as I do that you were sold a bill of goods, empty bag, and that it doesn't look or doesn't smell very nice. The equity markets, unfortunately, Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, on a vacation in Mexico, tried to intervene Friday. And he came out with a tweet after talking to 6 major banks in the United States, some of the largest banks. He talked to them, and these could be banks who not only are very large in the United States, but worldwide as well. So let's assume that these are the 6 largest banks, because sometimes the repercussions, they spread as you can see for yourself. Not only is this a problem in the United States, but worldwide. Anyway, there's 6 major banks were on a conference call with Steve Mnuchin. I don't know if it was one conference call or numerous calls, but that's besides the point. He tried to figure out whether or not they had sufficient liquidity and would be able to cover loan losses. In other words, when people find out, like Steve Mnuchin, he's been on Wall Street for a long, long time. I think it's Goldman Sachs. They know very well when market participants, such as the banks and securities brokers and major investment companies, they know when everyone is getting tired of the direction that the markets are going in. Since this was a self-inflicted wound by Donald Trump, raising issues with trade tariffs and everything else, that started the free fall, basically. So anyway, Steve Mnuchin was trying to intervene and trying to find out to what extent the banks would not be able to cover major withdrawals and major loan losses So by him trying to get some reassurance from the banks that they had sufficient liquidity, you guys got to pay attention to that, because that simply means that when the shit hits the fan and things go significantly in reverse, in other words, you go from bad to worse and you start to head into a recession, then everybody wants their money. Everyone wants to get their money out of the banking institutions. Everyone wants to sell equities. Everyone wants to get that money and put it somewhere where they can watch it and see it themselves. So anyway, the banks reassured Mnuchin that everything would be okay, that they were well capitalized. But I'm going to tell you, you guys, the banks, they don't keep very much money on hand anymore to cover, deposit withdrawals. What they do, they try to leverage that money and they try to invest in things to get a decent return. That's just the way they operate. So anyway, as people start to take a look at these self-inflicted wounds perpetuated by Trump, they're going to start to realize, especially going into next week, if you guys don't get some sort of reprieve very soon, you're going to really be in a situation that you won't be able to rectify immediately. And so anyway, I'm not predicting any catastrophic outcome, but I can say that if you thought Bitcoin was volatile and unpredictable, you haven't seen anything yet. A lot of you are going to be wishing that we had somebody else as commander-in-chief when this guy gets through with you. The market for oil, the oil industry alone is taking it on the chin as well. $44 per barrel oil is not a good thing. When our economy made the transition from being a major importer, net importer, to being a net exporter of oil, that was a very good thing under Barack Obama, making absolutely sure that he opened up those markets with the help of Congress. That was a very good thing for the United States. But unfortunately, Donald Trump and his meddling is even jeopardizing the ability of us maintaining a position as a worldwide exporter. I'm not saying that things are going to change anytime soon, but I can tell you we have a certain profit margin that we need to maintain when it comes to getting oil out of the ground, refining it, and sending it overseas. In other words, Saudi Arabia's ability to deal with cheap oil prices is a lot more sustainable than ours. So you guys got to consider that as that price per barrel, if the price per barrel keeps dropping, at some point the banks who loaned our energy companies, refining companies, distribution and such, as that per barrel price keeps dropping, you're going to see a lot of layoffs, plainly and simply. We can't afford to keep bleeding red ink forever. First goes your capital investments in oil. You can't project out into the future where you're going to allocate your money, particularly if you're not making any money. And the banks need to get paid. The banks in general in the United States loaned a lot of money to those shale producers. And those guys need to make a certain amount of money. $50 per barrel and up would be good. But when you start getting to $44 per barrel, trust me, there's going to be a lot of people getting laid off. So anyway, you got the equity markets taking a dump, energy sector taking a dump, real estate sector. 5% interest rates on mortgage loans is not a good thing. Okay, that's not going to help anyone. High real estate prices is not going to help anyone. Lackluster sales in the retail sector. 7/8% is what we call, I guess, the analysts, they call that like really good numbers. I can tell you it's not. In China and some of the other places, the numbers that they churn out in terms of retail sales growth, they look more like 5 or 10 or something. But ours being at 7/8% is really pathetic. I run my own business, and trust me, if I had to exist on sales revenue increase quarter to quarter, month to month, or 6 months at a time, whatever, of 7%, it wouldn't be worth it. Okay, and so those 3 or 4 sectors don't look very good at all. Anyway, the cryptocurrency market, before I forget, is experiencing an uptick slightly. Now we come down substantially from a peak of $20,000. But there's a lot of people in the Bitcoin space who are just fine with where we are since we're building out the infrastructure. But the fascinating thing, you guys, keep an eye on where the money is going to go as the equity markets keep tanking and people keep withdrawing money from the banks and the equity markets and real estate and the various other areas. Gold doesn't seem to be moving very much. It's stuck under $1,300 per ounce forever. So that's not going to give you the type of return. That's going to make you feel safe, I guess, if you want to feel safe as a store of value. But a lot of times people want a return on their money. They don't want to just park it somewhere and know that it's there. They want a return on their money. So anyway, it's going to be interesting to see where the money goes when it comes out of stocks and real estate and the energy sector and various other places where we tend to put our money. Hedge funds, people are getting out of hedge funds mainly because hedge funds typically charge higher fees, and but they're supposed to give you better performance, but they haven't been, so that's a major problem. Anyway, I just want to chime in and say Merry Christmas to y'all, and I'm sorry for you Trump supporters in terms of you being misled that this guy's going to make America great again. I just don't see it. Your meager wage increases that you got, that's you're giving that back by the higher dollar amounts that you're paying for your goods, your various goods that you have to pay for, the groceries and the utility bills and the other things. A lot of companies are hiking prices wherever they can to make up for the lack of demand overall for their products and services. So you guys got to pay more money, even though you got a meager raise finally after 20 years or something like that. So that's very unfortunate. Anyway, again, my heart goes out to you guys who believed that Donald Trump was going to somehow give you a booming economy and put wealth back into this nation, when in actuality we have just as much debt more debt than we've ever had. The public service debt, as you know, the private unfunded pension liabilities and entitlement programs, household debt, all these things that we have to pay money towards are going up more and more and more. They're not coming down. So anyway, I always pay attention to the bottom line. If the only thing the Trump administration, if the only thing that they can talk about is GDP and the number of jobs, then they're BSing you. You can't take GDP or a large number of employed people. You can't take that to the grocery store. What you can take to the grocery store is more money if it were being put into your pockets. As far as I can tell, he's erasing a lot of income, a lot of wealth, especially with the equity markets. And another, I gave you some inside information. As our companies plummet in value, as corporate America's values go into the toilet, competitors and foreign adversaries in different other countries, they're going to be taking a look at how much money they can plow into Microsoft and Apple and Facebook and whatever critical national security related companies that they can. That's what you do when you have more money than your competitors, or when your competitors' stocks rather are so cheap. At some point, you got to go in there and you buy up as much as possible so you can have the ability to get on the board and influence decision making within those companies. So, unfortunately, this is a national security related issue that no one's talking about. But I'll tell you, indeed, when those foreign adversaries in China and everywhere else, when they start buying into our corporations, through whatever financing vehicles, and they take major shareholder positions, and they put people on the board of directors. They can influence what our companies can do and what they can't do. So that's another problem waiting to unfold. Anyway, I think I shared enough. So I don't know what else to tell you guys, but have a Merry Christmas, and I hope you have something to talk about this uplifting and positive at the dinner table, since we know that you won't be talking about how pathetic the Bitcoin space is, because we're actually making progress, and we actually are going to be an alternative, a fallback when everything collapses. So we don't have to do anything in the Bitcoin space. We're just going to sit back and pick up the pieces when everything else falls apart, because we know for a fact that your present economic system is not sustainable, and it's just a matter of time. Anyway, so you guys have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you later. Have a good day. Bye.